body, but I was just thinking about that. Um, Tomorrow's going to be an exciting day, I think, with having Claudia on. Jeff, do you know Claudia? She was in Daniel's Cook's class in the beginning when he started doing Living Letters, if you were ever in there.
Yeah, the name's familiar, but I don't think I made acquaintance.
Yeah, yeah. Um she's from Trinidad and then she has that um accent and she's got an amazing story. Oh my gosh. That God would say, give everything you got away and you're going to trust me and you're going to go where I tell you to go. You're going to stay with whom I tell you to stay. You're going to do what I tell you to do. And you're going to totally trust and rely on me. The girl doesn't even, she's not driving. She doesn't have a car. She doesn't have a home. She has very few belongings, whatever can fit in a suitcase. And she's got a couple of other odd and end at a friend's shed that's just kind of stored in the little corner of his shed. But she'll stay with the homeless. She says, I'm just a missionary. I'm a disciple for Christ. And she said, I'll take a train or whatever, wherever he tells me to go. And then I'll think, who do I know that's here? And he'll put somebody on my heart and I'll call and say, hey, look, I'm in this area. I need a place to stay. God's Father has sent me here. You pray about it if I'm to stay with you. And she said, sometimes they say yes and sometimes they say no. And she said, that's perfectly fine because they're just not there yet or whatever for me to stay with them. And when she's with you, she'll cook her own food because she likes very spicy and certain kinds of food. She'll cook her own food, but it's just amazing to me. She may stay with the homeless. She may go stay with them and minister in the homeless and do that. She may go sit in an airport. She said in New Orleans airport for a month and stayed there,
Wow.
slept there. After Katrina, I don't know how far after Katrina, and would talk with whomever God would draw to her. Like that
Cool.
is sold out. I'm sorry. That is like sold out. It was, I mean, her testimony and her life, it's wild to me. I knew of her and God told her her home will be New Orleans. It's where she will call home. But he called New Orleans Jerusalem. He said, you will go to Jerusalem. She said, I thought I was going to Jerusalem. She said, but no, he said, New Orleans is Jerusalem, and then it's your home. It's another one of my Jerusalems because people will travel all over to go to Israel, to go to Jerusalem. And Jerusalem is a place more of prayer, but they'll go to New Orleans. It's a very high visited place and it means something to God. And he says it's Jerusalem, but he's got her there as a place of prayer. And she'll open up portals where he tells her to open portals and do stuff. I don't know. It's just amazing. So it's going to be fun. Paul, I don't
Cool.
know if you can come on tomorrow and just do your little thing and be on screen or off screen. If you can, that's great. If you can, I understand. But
Very cool.
okay, it's time to
Yeah.
go live. Are we
Yeah.
doing
We are
anything
live.
specific?
We are
Oh,
live.
We've
We
been
are
live
live.
for several minutes.
We've been
oh,
live for
You
five
just
minutes.
did a PSA, girl. You didn't even know it.
Right.
You riffed.
Yeah.
It was
Way
good.
to
I
go.
opened us
Way to
up, huh?
go.
Sorry about that.
Yeah.
Not to apologize.
Yeah.
Are we talking about something specific today, or are we just in the flow?
We are in the flow right now.
Okay. I didn't know if we had
In
an
the
agenda.
flow.
We needed to do that in the green room, honey. We live now, so now
I
we
know, but yeah, but I already asked, so I'm just like, this is giving them a taste of what the green room looks like. We're just being real.
we're gonna
We
find
love
out
the
if
green
anybody
room.
gets triggered. See how everybody's religion is doing.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
awesome.
We
See,
were talking
here
about
last week.
near-death
I wasn't
experiences.
here last week.
So,
Yes.
yep.
Near death experiences.
Yep. And
I've
oh,
been
yep.
near death, as close. My brothers will tell you, you are as close to dying as a person can get without actually dying that I've ever saw. but I didn't really have an experience for that. I didn't have a supernatural experience. Now, did I have the testimony? Oh, yes. I've got several testimonies. When you have a major surgery and they can't give you anesthesia, but yet you feel no pain and your blood pressure says, "Oh, you shouldn't even be conscious," and I was. And the way I pulled through, it was completely miraculous and how the doctors
So
operated and what they did. But as far as coming out and saying, "Oh, and this is what I saw when I was in my near death experience," I didn't have that. But a lot of my friends were like anxiously waiting, saying, "Did you see anything? Did anything happen supernaturally? Do you have any stories to tell us?" And I'm like, "Nope." I was I was at a place of peace and rest I've never known before. But other than that, that's it.
I was on the other side of someone else's near-death experience. Several years ago, my neighbor passed away with a heart attack, an old gentleman. But that night, his wife called me up to help do CPR. And it's very surreal. 30 minutes of trying to keep, suppose, I mean, it was pretty much, he was gone. He'd already gone over. But when the EMTs finally showed up after me doing compressions for 20 minutes, I just stepped aside. Yeah. And I was praying in tongues the whole time too. But I stepped aside and I don't know, I started having a conversation with my with the guy that passed, the neighbor in the spirit. And I was like, do you want to come back? She really wants you to come back, man. No. And he was like, no, I'm not coming back. And I mean, it was really surreal this to be standing there over his body and then having a dialogue with him in the spirit about what was going on and the things he was saying and what and just it it's just kind of a just different experience, and a bystander experience, someone else's, death experience, that I don't think people consider sometimes in that whole swirling thing we
Right.
call, you know, end of life, start of a new thing. They're very, very surreal. I mean, it's still very poignant. The memory is still very strong in that whole dialogue and conversation, as well as just being seeing with eyes, the physical, but yet seeing with spiritual eyes and what was going on there.
My aunt, she was um in her 90s, I think. And she was a Baptist minister's wife, and she was very obedient to the Lord, to her husband, to her family. Lived a godly life. Was well thought of. When I thought of anyone spiritual, I would think of her. um, when she was transferring, and she was in her bedroom, and at that point, no one was in the room with her, and they thought someone turned the radio on in her room. They heard singing. So when she went to transfer, she started singing and then passed. From nothing, laying there, God doing this work, shutting the body down, she's transferring. God does whatever God does during that whole wonderful, awesome process. And she just comes up, starts singing, and then transfers. So I thought that was, well, you hear of different stories that at the time of people's transferring, that little supernatural things that take place. And so that's one that took place with her. And when my mom transferred, there wasn't anything that was supernatural that kind of happened as she was transferring, other than when she felt like it was over, she wanted to be out of here, and when she was into a bed and couldn't get up, she was gone like within 48 hours. It was just boom. Okay, I'm done. I'm ready, Jesus, come for me. And she, like, I think she already had that worked out with him. Whenever I'm in this bed, it's going to be fine. You just go ahead and come for me. I don't want to lay in this hospital bed. You just come and I'm just out of here. And that just shows how the body actually, you have the power to shut your body down. You have the power and to say, I'm ready and just let things go. And I don't think
Wasn't
we
it
grasp that anymore.
yeah. Wasn't it Smith Wigglesworth that revived his wife 4 times? I think it was, and after the fourth time, she said, "Don't do it."
Yeah, I'm
He had
done.
wanted,
I
I
want
mean,
to
he
stay on the other
raised her
side,
from the
please.
dead four times, and she finally told him to quit it. Stop.
What about David
But
Hooverine? I think that's his name. David Hooverine, is that his name? That kept dying, and his wife would say, "Oh, he's dead," and she'd just wait a little bit, and he'd come back. Finally, he said, "Does it scare you when I do that?" She said, "No. I know that you have a scroll to fulfill. Until it's finished, you will not go. You will keep coming back." And then there was one time that he went and he didn't come back.
well, yeah, that's
Yeah, I think it's a
crazy.
very personal choice, right? That and it's hard to I think people want to wrap their heads around just how this works.
Right?
How can I crack the code on this whole thing? Coming and going,
Curiosity.
staying.
Yeah,
It is. I mean, but at the same time, I think because of the uniqueness, the intimate process, that there's no one size fits all. And there's
fits
no one
all. Yeah,
experience that fits all and everybody. This is the way it works, right? There's people we think they're going to stay forever. You got people they don't. And then we got people thinking they've had so many opportunities and why are they still around? It's like, so it's hard to know. I mean, I don't think it's for us to know specifics on anyone else but ourselves. And I think what you're saying, Tina, we do have the ability to be um, part of the equation with our voice, with a thought life in that process of making that decision. It's one of I believe it's part of the aspect of being a sovereign being, is that we could make the internal choices to stay or go. Um, I think sometimes we're involuntarily selected, right, by external forces, and that's hard to chew on sometimes. But
Right.
um, we talked about this before about we really have to redefine what it all means. Death, crossing over, in the world of an unlimited, unending resource and supply, in a world of our Father's kingdom, where really death is not a proper term. It's a negative term in the concept of the kingdom vocabulary, right? We talk about it being the enemy of Christ and him overruling it, and then being apprehenders of that same co-inheritance. Um, the transition, or as you say, transferring over, some will transfer over and some will not. And Paul talks about that not all will sleep. So there's that component that we don't see. I don't know of anybody yet that has not, slept. And I'd like to meet some, and I'd like to participate in that. That's my particular cup of tea, and that's my curiosity, right? That's
yeah,
my
yeah.
focal point of, if this is a possibility, then I want to do that.
Yeah, tell those
I
people,
don't.
publishing a book is easy nowadays. Get to it.
Right.
Write the book, Enoch. Oh wait.
Yeah,
No, you write the book this time, Enoch.
Hmm.
you
We
are the
talk
book.
about it. We have to talk about it from the perspective death. We talk about death from the perspective of the living, and we're using words to communicate these experiences that are limited. We're 8 billion people on the planet, only a handful of languages to communicate this stuff. And so that's the tools that my curiosity has been given, and
Right. And so
they're
we have to find, because it's
insufficient.
not sufficient. It's
Yeah.
insufficient, and we have to find a new language for it. Well, like,
Yeah.
and what did even Yeshua said? Yahweh is not the God of the dead.
No.
He's God of the living, which means what? What does that mean? I mean, that means that no one's really dead. No
Nope.
one's ceased to exist. It's just a different stage, different state, different dimensional manifestation.
Yeah. What does slept mean? I meant to ask that. What does slept mean? I don't know if we want to get into a nuts and bolts details conversation, but when he says that not all will sleep, does he mean death? Is that like a given? Everybody's accepted. That's all the words mean is ceasing to manifest in this corporeal realm that we can measure. That's what they're
Well,
saying. Or
Yeshua
is
is the
slept
one
something
that
else?
said that as well.
Hmm?
Right, he
Yeshua
did.
said that,
With Lazarus.
no, he's just, yeah, with Lazarus. No, he's just sleeping.
Yeah, it's an
So,
interesting metaphor to use.
basically,
Well, how can you use the word death in this regard if you are constantly saying that it's the enemy and that I've overcome it?
Right.
And
So
sleeping is
there,
such an integral part of our lives. Who on here likes sleep?
I
Anybody?
love sleep.
I think
Yep.
everybody would raise your hands if you know. So everyone likes sleep. It's a necessary thing. If you don't go to sleep without relationship with Yahweh or something other in the spirit that's playing, that's pulling the strings in the background behind the curtain, you're not going to have a good time. We know this. It gets progressively worse the longer you avoid that, unless you've got your source coming from something else. And so to use that word, Yeshua, my brother, why'd you do that? He used that word in place of all the things that we can measure to say that person's moving around, doing things, and manifested in this realm. At this point, all we can see is meat. And he says, that's just like when you go to bed every night.
he's just chilling.
yeah, and I was just
Of all
looking
the
at the
words you
Greek
could
word.
use to explain that and use that as a metaphor, I mean, Yeshua, he was a teacher with words. He told parables. He told stories. He said, "Hey, suspend your disbelief for a minute. Let me tell about this guy from this village." And you're like, "Okay," and then boom, like big stuff comes down, and he uses that as a vehicle for the spirit to move in. And he used the word sleep. All right, I'm done. I'll ramble. Maybe
So
I need to look.
I was looking up the Greek word for it, right? And it's metaphoric for death. But in the idea of the believer, it's the idea of it's a temporary state, whereas death would be considered a permanent state.
So, what is a temporary state of living mean?
Temporary state of which implies the hope of resurrection. So when you sleep, you have the expectation and the hope that you will rise the next morning. Right? That's the idea of sleeping. So as a metaphor to transferring, it's a temporary state of rest until the resurrection, the hope of resurrection,
Man,
for whenever that might be.
I think that perspective's got to go. I don't think we got it. Who am I to argue? I know it's a little hubris to argue with the historical perspective of this word. Many smarter people have come along to view this and have determined that that's the way to look at it, that have spent more time investigating this than I have. But something doesn't ring true about that. A temporary state of holding, no activity. We've talked about it before. My father's not a father of inactivity. He's always doing something. So what is that?
Well, if you took, think about this. If we're going to get into the complexity of it, first you go back to the concept of Abraham's bosom, Abraham's bosom, right? Which was this idea that all men who are righteous will be brought into Abraham's bosom. There's this great divide. On the other side is Hades, or hell, or whatever they want to call that in the ancient times, right? Because we hear the parable, the story that Yeshua tells about the other Lazarus who dies, and the rich man who dies at the same night. One ends up in Abraham's bosom, and the other one in the other side. And the rich man can see across the abyss and yells at Lazarus and, "Hey, go tell my brothers, my family, to do good so they don't end up like me here." And so Abraham's bosom is this concept of a holding place for a time of resurrection, a time of bringing into whatever it is. And
Spiritual
the idea
cryogenics.
is that the Messiah would bring them out of, and part of the Messiah's train, as you read in New Testament, Christ brought, in that days of 30 days after resurrection, people who were seeing their relatives that had died, who had passed, walking the streets of Jerusalem. So he has this train of glory of he's releasing from Abraham's bosom all of these people who have been in holding for the resurrection of the Son of God to open up the doorway to lead them into a new, unprecedented state of living, right? So pre-Christ, a rest in Abraham's bosom makes sense, right? Post-Christ,
Yeah, sort of.
it's been emptied out,
It's like Club
right?
Med.
And in a sense, why need Abraham's bosom anymore when we now can just enter right into it? So
Yeah.
that's the idea of sleeping,
That's,
right? In that context, when Paul's talking, and then here's the other. So that's the kind of the ancient perspective of this whole resting and waiting until the resurrected body, till the resurrection. But then there's this other concept of time and how all this is happening outside of time. So technically, when you pass, when you transition, if you go to Abraham's bosom or whatever, what is there as far as time reference, but here? So for me, that's someone who has transferred, in my perspective, they're waiting for the resurrection, because we'll all be resurrected at the same time, but resurrection's out of time. So for us to transition, let's say I transition and you stay, for me, it's instantaneous. It already happened. For you, it's 100 years down the road. And then but we join at the same time because it's
the guy
outside
had
of time.
time to ask for room service, so something was happening. Like he was experiencing.
Well, that's pre-Christ. What I'm talking about.
In that time, yeah. So even
resurrection.
then, the rest was active enough for him to ask for water, and that's wild to me. And then obviously Yeshua, when he died, insert appropriate word. He was very busy.
Right, we hear about people that cross over and
activity.
spend 3 months of time, and it's been like 8 hours of their day.
Yeah,
they crossed over to another dimension and spent 3 months getting downloads and learning revelations, that are being deposited over this time, and it feels like it's been months and months and months, and yet when they come back over, it's only been hours. So the concept of transitioning, we have to keep in mind the flexibility of time.
shoot, yeah.
It's eternal versus a time map that we're in a time construct. So the resting aspect is, and again, you're trying to use language to describe something that's outside of time and give it coloration, give it substance, so that you can come back and speak what you see. But you're not going to get the whole concept in the language. It's bits and pieces. It's shadows. It's reflections. It's
Curiosity.
A weak man's attempt at describing something out of time, out of sequence, out of this framework, and trying to box it in. You're just going to not do it justice. So we work at it to try and communicate it, but all these NDEs are really just that.
Sure.
A woman trying to describe this limitless, immeasurable love, trying to give verbiage to something that is outside of human language, and try to paint this picture, and it falls flat.
It's an epiphany.
It's doled out. It's faded because it's a faded glory in our language.
Yeah.
Right. So we do our best to communicate, but at the end of the day, it's still way diminished from what they actually experienced. And then everybody's got their own experience. So it's
Discussing all of
like
this.
shiny shoot a moving target.
And it's so encouraging. It definitely tears apart the idea of death. Because death, who wants to talk about death? If we had a choice in the green room and one out of these was death, we're probably not going to choose that. It's not something we typically talk about. But it's so encouraging to think of death in a different way. It's a move without a U-Haul. That's it. As far as the continuity of experience in your life, nothing stops. And everything expands.
So let me ask a death question.
Pardon?
Let me ask a death question. So people that are afraid of quote unquote what death is, because they haven't realized intuitively enough that their body is a technological wonder. There's stuff going on, but obviously there's something else inside this body. That's me. Right? So at death, quote unquote, which is this thing, this meat house, whatever you want to call it, if you're not at a point that you recognize that, let's just say a soul that's occupying a body, a soul that's in a corrupted state because it doesn't know who it is in the spirit and hasn't connected with big love, even at that level. So
Yeah.
the person that thinks this is all they are and death is coming and they're afraid of it, what are they afraid of?
Ceasing.
The unknown.
Unknown.
Oh, wait, a couple answers.
I mean, you have to believe there's an unknown to fear it, but just cessation.
But that
Well, even
that was
not
one.
believing that the
That
unknown
was
is this.
one. Since cessation. So this is it,
Right.
and there's nothing else. And then
Right.
Mississippi, Tina said something else.
The unknown.
Jeff
Oh,
and I said unknown.
the unknown. What the unknown that you could have known before now you set yourself up going into the unknown and then not knowing if the unknown is going to be because you don't know if there's a known in the unknown. So this, I think it's just that we have to approach this whole death thing. There are people we know there are people that are walking dead people that are walking alive on the earth, but they're walking dead people because they're
Right.
not alive in the spirit.
Right.
And this is the beauty thing, even when in the green room, just showing that short clip of Mr. Musk just talking about curiosity, right? And truth seeking. In terms of programming an AI like a child, you teach it to be curious, right? To have a moral compass and to pursue truth. There's not 12 different truths. There's one truth. And we need to kind of just like this whole death thing. It's what just talk about a death. It's the sensation, the cessation of this. And
Yeah.
if you don't get that you're more than this, then man, we need to like love on you, give you a hug, man.
Well, let's throw another wrench in
Need
this
some big
though,
love in
because
you,
I
bro.
just read this morning another concept here that we haven't discussed, and John writes about it in Revelation, the second death.
Yes. There you go. Go riff
Right.
on that.
So like now in the 7 churches in the Sardis, I think it's Sardis. Whoever comes will not be harmed by the second death. Oh, well, wait, what's that?
Wait, there's a sequel? What?
Right.
Part
Well,
two.
maybe we should be worried more about the second death than the first one. That's that no one's talking about the second one real much. And that's we have to, if we're going to talk about the cessation of something, then what is the cessation of the second? And what is that? Because I think you should be more worried about the second than the first, because that sounds worse than the first one. Right. And I mean,
New fear
given
unlocked.
the below the sun context of being worried about
Well,
death.
well, that
That's
talks about, well, that gets into, now we're going really deep here, and this may be whoever's watching us live or whatever, but you're talking, again, obviously family here, so we're private, but we're public, spirit, soul, and body. But there's talk about that the spirit goes back to the life giver that gave it.
Right,
But
reabsorbed.
you choose. You choose your own volition when you come to the knowledge of the truth, when you got the truth on the other side, your soul, because it was in a corrupted state, and the light, and you choose to peel your soul away from your spirit. And then what happens with could your soul that you peeled your jabron butt over here, that goes into a place of unremembrance, but your spirit's still alive in a realm of love, and it's like, and you can kind of see who's who in the zoo, because we're all light, frequency, and energy. Everybody wants to be at the top. What? The last shall be first, and the first shall be last. So when I think about that Nigerian pastor that got murdered today, and our companions, martyrs, I'd prefer not to be a martyr,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna. We can be martyrs in our own unique dimensional reality. Don't we die daily? What is
Yeah,
that?
just do it for the right reasons.
How do you die? How do you die daily?
Choose.
So what is death? If you're dying daily, what are we afraid of?
Well, I mean, and the choice there. All right, I'm thankful that I have lived a life where I can't possibly imagine choosing to cease. I'm thankful for that. I'm sure some people can't. Some people lived a life where they're like, yeah, you know what? No, I'm done. Don't want any more. But there's a universe of possibilities out here, forever, never ending. I can't imagine making the choice for the second death. I've lived a life that I'm glad for that. I'm grateful because I know that's not not unique amongst.
well, it's the same thing for the first death. Is you're making choices right now, micro choices, nano choices that move
Like
you
what?
toward the first death. Same thing with the
Like-
second death. You're making nano choices. You don't all of a sudden one day like, okay, today's the big question. What are you going to choose? No, it doesn't work that way. You, from the moment you breathe your first breath, you begin to choose which pathway you want to walk. So it's not a question like, I didn't know this was pop quiz. No, you've been quizzed all your entire breathing life on both ends, on both accounts, on both death choices, and how you choose with your breath, how you choose with your decisions of your heart, how you want to end or how you want to continue. And so it's not a surprise. I don't think people are going to be surprised. They're going to be mad. They're going to be angry. I'm sure that people are really angry, but that doesn't mean that they didn't know.
I
But
think
especially,
there'll be
I mean, what's that?
I think there'll be surprise.
Well, I think they'll be surprised, but not, but more like I got caught surprised.
I don't know.
And look at all of creation was framed up to remind us. And we are like on a highway running down the highway, and there's signposts the whole way. We have been given opportunities, whether you know the name Jesus Christ or not, you're constantly been given options. The choice, are you going to choose to think about this? Are you going to put it off to the side? Are you going to be blind? I mean, you have to be consciously making, or you have to be making conscious effort to ignore the signposts because they're all around you from the moment you start breathing on the face of the earth. You would actually have to purposely blind yourself, stop up your ears to not hear the voice of the Father speaking and saying, are you going to choose life or death? And how that verbiage is made is it's different for everybody. But
Sure.
no one stands in the end and says, I didn't know. Pop quiz for me.
So there's some kind of experiential arena like life
Called
to
living.
prepare you for the second death as well.
Everything around you is revealing that.
Yeah.
Everything.
And that requires a belief structure that says there is something. I mean,
everybody that see, here's a child doesn't come to the earth thinking God doesn't exist.
Right, it's learned.
It's a learned choice. It's a learned shutting down of that belief system.
Yes.
So it's a purpose. I'm going to ignore the signs for my own detriment, but it's still a choice.
Yeah. If I brainwash my kid, they're not going to know they have choice.
See, it
Yeah.
all comes down to if you believe in an absolute truth. See, this is like this thing that we get tripped up on, this type of religion. Like we're so tripped up on whether God's real and does, and again, God's a big bad guy because there's evil. He gets, big love gets blamed for everything. And he's nothing but
Yeah.
love. I mean, it's just, we were losing my train of thought. Yeah. Um, I think it just comes at, to me, the simplification is big love is love. Whatever name you want. So the thing is what, and again, if we look at the metaphor of what's happening below the sun, is the entire planet is being exposed to the heart of man, the corruption and a
Yes.
systemic level and an extremely high level. If you don't metaphorically look at, and I'll just give you a practical example. I have a relative, extreme opposite ideology, but we love each other. Lives in in a very leftist state, and the whole thing is my cousin is getting tripped up on immigration because she's in that business. And you can imagine what's going on with immigration. She is so caught up. That is a hill that she has decided to die on. You cannot even have a conversation around people are still, and why I ask, because if we're getting tripped up on who's left and right and red and blue, you're not getting it yet. There's an unseen realm that's happening, that's influencing what's happening here on the earth, and we get to participate. And here's what it comes down to. Everything is about your character. Your character. How much corruption are you willing to tolerate in your life? Well, I do this, I do that, I just, the whole thing. It's just we're not willing to look on
Wait,
the inside of who we are
I
and what
can
we are.
come
Because
tomorrow. I don't have an evening call. What time after lunch?
okay,
Go ahead.
that's good. That's okay. It's all good. So I guess that to wrap it up is, like when we were talking about near-death experiences and in a common theme, whether you believe in that thing or not. Okay. Well, you got free will, you got free choice, man.
Right.
Free will,
I
free
mean, at
choice.
the end of the day, it's
True.
not up to you whether or how I believe the way you believe.
Free will, free choice. You do you. You do you. I'll
Right.
believe whatever freak I want. I'll change my mind anytime, every day, anytime. Because I
It's
don't
You get to
inevitable.
choose, and we'll see who ends up where.
It's all good. We're on the same team. I love you, bro. Let's just step into love. Once you start talking about love and corruption and accountability, that's when people get tripped up and shut down because they don't want to deal with their junk. If you don't deal with your junk in this realm, when this physical thing, you're going to go to the life review. And we're not worried about where you go. Because we don't have to produce the outcome. It's the truth. And when you get revelation of truth, guess what? You want some more truth? Because we all create our own unique dimensional reality. And that's why all we have to do is let people just talk and you observe their life. And it doesn't matter whether it's red or blue. That's why I'm saying that now's the time. The corruption is going. We still think, though, it's going to get bad. It's the end of the world, asteroids, AI. You know what? in your unique dimensional reality, everything that you think is going to happen to you in your own unique dimensional reality. Life out here is good, man. How's your life? Is it where you want to be? Where are you going? It's beautiful. Crazy.
Going back to the fear thing about fear of death.
Yeah.
Anybody that's fearful is not confident of where they're going or what they believe.
Yeah.
I think that's the crux of it. If I come along and tell you this is the way it is, and I can influence you, then your belief system isn't convinced in its own. You're not convinced, and you don't have confidence in what you're believing, and so there's a shaking that goes on. But someone come to me and I'm pretty confident in my belief system right now. It's going to take a lot to push and shake and rattle my bones, right? So for others, that fear is, I believe that fear is because they are not confident in what they believe to be an outcome for this.
Because they have a love problem, bro. That's the problem.
Well, I
right?
I was going to get to that, but yes, they don't have an anchor point for their belief system that is immutable, unmovable. Mine is my Father. My Heavenly Father is my anchor point. It's immutable. And I have a confidence. The other point I was thinking about is I don't have to convince anybody to come on my side, because the way that my life moves forward, how it transitions, how it transfers, whatever language you want to use it, the future of my life, my body, my soul, my spirit is not dependent upon anybody else's belief or what they say it might be or not be, because they don't have to live my life, and it's extended forever. They don't have to. Whatever I choose is on me. So I can convince people all day long, but at the end of the day, you're going to die your death. I'm going to die my death. If that's the case, if that's my reality, I choose a different reality, right? But nothing that I convince other people to believe has no bearing on my end or beginning or never ending life. It's a very personal experience.
Yes.
I'm not going to be seeing anybody else's life review when I look. It's going to be mine, right? It's a very personal, and so it's the choice is on us. Now, we love to come together and congregate with other people with the same mindset and belief system because it gives us comfort. It gives us a place to find community and unity in this journey where we believe together this is the direction we're going.
It strengthens
And I don't
my
see
belief
any
system.
harm in that.
Yeah, it strengthens it.
Sure. But it's not going to be
No.
the pivotal reason for my success or unsuccess to what end, right? I'm going to do this alone, in a sense, this choice. I'm going to step through that door alone, or I can step through with Christ or through whatever, but you guys know my point. No one's going to die for my body. No one's going to take this on for themselves.
You
This is a
gotta
very
do this on your
personal,
own.
isolated event.
Bulk up. You're moving by yourself.
Right.
No help.
So you got to work on your own belief system and your own confidence about where you think you're going. And as long as you don't have that confidence, you're going to struggle with fear and undoubt and the unknown. And so we come along inside and say, hey, this is where we are. This is what we believe. This is what we think the truth is, and leave it before you. And then everybody has to make a decision themselves. It is a personal choice to begin life, to continue life, or to end life.
I got to be honest though, that changes the way I view that. Like, yeah, you're on your own. I don't got to persuade you. I can say that for people outside of my circle, but the closer you get to my inner circle, the less I can honestly say that. It's very important to me that my friends and family choose.
I'm not saying that. No, I'm not saying that. But your valuation to it
Yeah.
has no, you can't change
No.
what they choose.
No, I can't.
You could be a friend of the court, but at the end of the day, the judgment doesn't fall on you. It falls on them and
Although,
their choice.
yeah, although this is where, when, to Eric's point, the closer, when you get family and it's close quarters, I think it's really, really important that, if we have knowledge, revelation, and we want to exhibit pure love, then we've got to be cognizant of what we say and how we say it and
Absolutely agree.
how it's making other people feel as we're delivering the message.
Oh, right.
And freaking Ed, that is not an easy thing for Boston C.
No.
Listen, I got 2 out of 3. Sometimes I got a, B- or a C+ on the, it's just how you're saying good things. That's why you can do your religion, belief system, that you do a lot of good things, but you do a lot of good things in an unkind way. Guess what? It doesn't mean squat, bro.
Right.
So you just got a minus. So bone up in
Right.
your right?
You can't write people off. That's not
Right.
love.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's the, and again, so what is, okay, so if Yahweh, big love is love, he's spirit, well, then that's the energy. Then
Yeah, and he feels
why
that
isn't
way about
everybody,
everybody.
huh?
He feels that way about everybody.
Yes.
Everybody's in his inner circle.
Yes.
Like he's passionately focused on convincing you, brainwashing you clean.
He's the protester in the middle of the highway, chained to the
Yeah.
signpost saying, "Don't go past this point."
All the time.
I gave you choice.
All the
now,
time.
please make this one.
Turn off here. Turn off here.
Don't make the second death. That is not. You can do it. I won't stop you, but don't. And that's going to look different, yeah, for everybody.
Yeah. And it's not on us. That's the thing, right?
Yeah.
We feel the pressure that it's on us.
Yeah.
But it really is his choice. He has the last say. The buck stops there.
Yeah.
Right. We can partner with it. We can be one of those sign holders, shoulder to shoulder. Hey, listen to him. Don't go this route. Right.
Yeah.
And that's love. That is love, is to be, I want to be the last sign. If I can be the last sign holder, if I can make the change, make the difference, that's love. It's not, it's the idea of saying, well, you're on your own, going off the cliff. I don't care. That's not love, right? We as people of love are wanting to grab them by the neck, the collar, and say, wake up. Don't go that route because we love you.
Yeah.
So it is still, we can be deeply involved and intimately integrated into that journey of theirs. But at the end of the day, they have to make the choice, right?
And here's the funny thing. So the judgment that, our companions sometimes lay, that the judgment of God, I think the more corruption that we see, 7 times the presence of love on the earth. It is going to be really hard. You're going to have to deliberately want to stay corrupt.
Yeah.
And be characterless and stay in, keep watching your stuff and doing your deal. You just keep doing you, man.
Dude, that's universal right there.
Mm-hmm.
I do believe with all the complexities of figuring all this out and all the curiosity, and like you Jeff said, we've been given signposts since the day we stepped on the planet. Everything is an invitation to take this spirit world seriously.
At any given time,
Everything.
when you get the revelation of it.
And I think, you're right. Like the whole surprise thing. I don't know what is surprise. I didn't know it was coming, but there is a time, and you're making it. And I believe every person who perpetrates evil and corruption on the earth, there's a moment where they're cognizant of the choice. I refuse to believe there isn't that, even if it's infinitesimally small. And so that you don't trip up into the second death. You're not going to fall into it.
Yeah.
There's a point where you've made that choice. You've made that choice because you're perpetrating death with corruption across the earth. You're removing, you're trying to remove the perception of choice. You're laying out evil, and there'll be a time you have to partner with that. I don't, and that's the only way I can imagine my father perceiving it. He's not a trickster. He's not a gotcha. There's no, he's the God of justice.
That has four faces.
Yeah.
Love has four faces: justice, judgment, grace, and mercy.
Yeah.
All functioning
All
all the
perfectly.
time, everywhere, in all of us. And all we have to do is just turn in and lean in.
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And our belief structures are a candle we light every second we're aware. And it relight it and relight it and relight it and relight it, and it changes. And but giving in, giving up, checking out, choosing a second death says, I don't even want that anymore. And it's a conscious choice. And my father is a God of hope. It's like, no, man, there's never an experience you can have that can't be dealt with in my universe. There is no combination of AI deep learning that you've experienced in your life that'll convince you that the only possible output is cessation. I'm telling you, there's hope for everything. Nothing you can experience in any realm can't be loved out.
That's good, right?
That's just not a Hallmark movie.
Right.
That's the truth.
Yeah.
And we share that. And I'm going to share it more
here's-
passionately with my daughter than with my neighbor. That's my hypocrisy. Because my father doesn't see second family members. And we're all first family members. We're all close family.
I was looking for the passage that talks about all of creation telling the glory. All right. And I found it. Romans 1:20 says, and this is Paul writing, right? He says, for his invisible attributes, namely his eternal power and divine nature, have been clearly perceived ever since the creation of the world in the things that have been made, so they are without excuse.
Yeah.
Meaning man is without excuse. All of creation from the beginning has been telling of his love for them. And it is at the judgment throne, or whatever that looks like, at the last call, creation will stand up as a testimony to or for or against each individual. They will be the witness. Said, hey, we told you. From the first moment you took a breath, we were telling you. We were revealing his love. We were revealing his nature and his character towards you. And you made the choice based on what we told you. You weren't ignorant. You have no excuse.
Yeah, I would only add, and I get where you're coming from, but to me that, again, we all have a religion. That to me feels
No,
like,
I'm just saying that's from the Paulinian belief system.
okay, yeah. I guess what I'm getting, the revelation, I would just say with what you just said, and again, I haven't got the rest of the context, is what has been made is all you've needed. Because you refuse to see what was made and acknowledge the designer that made this creation so you could connect with me. While you're here on the earth, you're going to miss the opportunity of creating your own. You took your free will and chose to worship the creature versus the
Right.
creator and the creation. So sadly, while you were here below the sun, you missed out. Okay. That to me is enough to say, I don't want to miss that. Versus, like, if I don't do this, that, the other thing, and this and record, then I'm going to have to pay over when I transition. I don't think it's like that, man. I don't think it's,
Pay over. Explain what you're talking about. Pay over.
like when you talked about, because, if you read the passage, the way preachers preach it is you're without excuse. You
Oh
have
yeah,
the creation. You missed it. You missed God. Therefore, I never knew you. Depart from me. Come
yeah.
on,
Life
man.
isn't a pop quiz.
That's
All right,
not what, that's
here's
not
what we
what,
can say that
that's
isn't.
not what it's
That
saying.
statement is not. There's this secret puzzle in creation, and if you don't figure it out, I'm gonna punch you.
Yeah.
Right? Like we know it's
Really?
not saying that. It's
That's,
not
that's what,
saying that if you don't understand, statistics and math, if you don't get string theory the first
you
time
should
with
have
all the
known the
clues,
Fibonacci.
I hid post-it notes under your pillow. You didn't get it? Well,
No,
screw
no,
you,
no, no,
pal.
right? No,
Yeah,
he's
we
talking
know
about
it's not
liars and
saying that.
deceivers. We're talking about people that choose purposely to say, no, I
Right.
didn't. No,
And
I didn't
somehow,
hear
in
it.
everyone's unique
No, I
individual
don't
personal
receive it.
reality.
Right.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
sorry.
That's not the point. That's why in Revelations, it says who's kicked out? The liars and deceivers, the reprobates, the people who purposely chose
Yeah.
to be wicked,
They're
They know
still,
they
who
did
were
it.
given
they're
a
still doing it.
chance, and
They're,
they still said, no, I
they're
still don't
still
care.
doing it in the
The signs and
spiritual
wonders
realm.
there.
That's the thing. You think that, like, we think sometimes that, like, if we're a jabron, the minute we die, we're like, oh man, I'm wicked sorry. You're still a jabron and you're
Right.
still lying in the spiritual realm. You think you're finished and you're done. I just want to go take a nap. It doesn't work like that, bro.
Right. No, 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 no. Right. It's not like, an
There
Easter
are,
egg. Got to
yeah.
go find the Easter egg. And if you didn't find it, then, no candy for you.
Yeah, what a terrible
That's
god
not,
that would be to serve. Oh
it,
my word, it's like Loki. Ooh, you didn't get
no,
it.
what it's saying is I made it easy for you. I made it easy for you to find me.
He
And
did.
you purposely rejected it. I set a table for you. You smelt the food. You even tasted the food,
Mm.
and you still rejected. That's what that's all about.
Yeah,
No
it,
bueno.
it, and it
Now
comes
that's
across
a sign to
harsh.
get some fear. That's fear.
It comes across harsh from the pulpit because people assume that when somebody's preaching that or is trying to tell you that you assume that they're saying, I've never chosen wickedness. I'm a good chooser. And it's like, no, man, it's not like that. I've chosen wickedness. I've chosen tablespoons of wickedness, mixed it with batter, and made a cake, cupcakes,
Right.
and ate them. No one's
And
saying that.
that's the hard part, because we'd like to know everybody's in course circumstances, but only one person gets that, and that's the Father. He's the only one
Right.
that knows exactly the choices of the heart.
Yeah.
He's the only one who can divine that. So we tell people there is someone that's looking in.
Yeah.
He's looking in on you. This is what he said. I'll leave it to you. And then it's just and that's what I'm saying, going back to who gets to die for you. You get to die for you. Means you get to face with him.
Can't
He
blame
gets to
anybody
call
else.
your bluff. He gets to show you your junk. That's his prerogative, not mine. But I
Can't
can
blame
tell
your
you,
choices on other people's choices.
I'm just telling you what he told me.
Yeah.
Now it's up to you and him. And that's what it is.
Yeah. It's not about getting it wrong. He's like, look, I get it. There's people at one point or another along the way, you poke your head through the veil and choose to be adversarial.
Right.
You choose.
Yeah.
You did it. You know you did it. It's your personal dimensional reality, and you know you did it. It's not just stepping first in line or stealing candy from a baby. It's you did this. You stuck your face beyond the veil and you made a everlasting statement, or not a statement into the everlasting. Sorry, you spoke into Yahweh's reality and said, "I choose against you," and he would be unjust to ignore that. He's like, I'm listening.
I have this propensity just to remove the emotion out of the whole thing. I get kind of logical in this process. I'm like, I'm really good with just laying down the facts. And this is what so-and-so, I'm a reporter. I'm reporting the facts as I heard them and saw them through my grid, my framework, through my antenna. And I'm just putting them out before you. And then you get to run with it. I ain't got no beef with you, man. If you want to reject all I just said, that's up to you. I don't got any beef. As Chris says, I ain't having to go with you. I'm just laying out what I've been told. I'm the messenger, and I have the ability to just say, I can love you, and you can hate everything I say.
Yeah.
Okay, because it's based on my belief system. It's not up to me. It's your relationship with him, or a non-existent relationship. You want to reject that reality too, that he doesn't exist and that there's no relationship. That's up to you too. Again,
Yeah.
it's not up to me. I think that in your days on the earth, you're going to find something different. That's my belief system. But again, all I can do is share the good news. And really, this is like going back to it. The good news isn't about watch out for the judgment. The good news is partake of the life that's exhibited in you before you right now.
Yeah.
That's the point. Why worry about the abyss? Don't worry. Why worry about and concern yourself how close you can get to the cliff? Don't you want to have good life? Don't you want to enjoy prosperity in every aspect of your life? Don't you want divine health?
Yeah.
Don't you
Focus your
want
curiosity
eternal
there.
life? I mean, why concern yourself with death when you should be concerning yourself with life? Right? That's good news.
Yeah.
Is we don't have to talk about death. We don't have to talk about the grave. Those things are done and tossed out. Our older brother did it. Now all we need to worry and concern ourselves is about life and life abundant and life forever. That's the
Yeah.
stuff. That's the good news. Let's focus on that and not play around on the edge of the abyss, trying to figure out how close I can get before I fall over.
Yeah, well, you can be curious about it, but it's like, hey, take anything that leads to fear and let me handle that. You know, Yeshua, give that to him. Let him carry that. You know, you limit your curiosity to the anything that results in you trusting me more with this.
Well, curiosity can get you killed,
Yes. So
right?
he's like,
I mean,
hey,
and what do we talk about all the time? We say, what you focus on, you become. What
yeah,
you
because
put your intention into and desire into, that is the makeup that you begin to put on. That's what you smell like. So
That could be
you gotta be
fear, though.
curious. Well, that's what I'm saying.
That could be a sign of fear by what you just said. Curiosity kills. I don't
It can
necessarily
kill. I
agree
didn't
with
say
that.
it always does. I said
no,
it
but it
can, it
can.
has
No, but you
killed.
said what you focus on, you become,
Yeah,
and that's what keeps people from being curious. Is oh, I can't focus on that because that's gonna, and
right.
that's the whole thing with near life, or
I'm
near death
balanced, right?
experiences and all
Yeah.
that.
Well,
Yeah,
okay. And I'm talking
That's
about
choice.
people, my child doesn't know balance. Curiosity will be devastating for him.
Right.
Okay.
but will it?
It can be.
It
It's a
can be if
potential.
you're
That's
not
what I've been
guided.
keeping saying. It's a
Yeah,
potentiality.
yeah.
Curiosity has a potentiality to lead to death
Yes,
in the
Right.
which
natural
is
and the
definitely true.
spiritual.
Yeah,
That's my point. That's
Well,
my
you can
point.
play
It
Superman
doesn't
and
always into
yeah,
that,
right.
the
but
crux of this is how you dismiss the curiosity. Right.
if you're standing with your tippy toes on the edge of the cliff and you're balancing on the edge of the cliff, it just takes one time to fall over, right?
Right. What-
And I'm using metaphor. I'm using a metaphor. I'm using an
Yeah.
analogy. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is giving your day, your breath, and your life to talk about death and how much I can go in this direction without
Right.
actually receiving it, without that being my reaping and harvesting. I would say, why would you test that? Why would you play around with that? Knowledge, when you know what life is and the rewards that are in the other direction,
I get you on that. Yeah.
it doesn't make sense that we would spend time over here. Your curiosity, great. I get it. Go play, have fun, see how far it takes you. If you really, really want to go that route, go then. I can't keep you. But in my mind, in the logical sense of life, it doesn't make sense
Yeah.
It's like
to
the dark
go
side of
that
prepping.
route.
It's the dark side of prepping. right? Like
You mean
people
like end times? Like, yeah.
yeah,
Um,
to be prepared, even if it's not the end times. You know, them just preparing for next week, but
right.
for sake of the conversation, just the idea of prepping for a future thing, that's good. Like that's a good thing. If well, I'm gonna wear shoes today, so my feet don't get cut, on the asphalt, whatever. There's, but with the dark side is when it's always around fear.
Hmm.
So if your
Right.
curiosity is to
Yeah.
satisfy a uncomfortable feeling of fear in your life, that is going to hurt you.
Right.
That's
The curiosity of the macabre. Think about, do you ever feel like if you take any time to in your curiosity of the macabre,
yeah,
do you come away feeling enlightened? Do you come away feeling like positive? Do you feel like, wow, that was so enlightening. I'm a
no,
changed man, and I can't imagine having life without having this experience. No, you feel like I feel sick to my stomach. I can't believe I spent this much time delving into this.
yeah,
And I have a really depressed mindset right now. Because
right,
so I mean, and that's just the curiosity looking into something. And if you give your life to it,
yeah,
what then continues into? And so the argument then that I'm making is then why would you put yourself in such a depressed state and inevitably? Why
yeah,
not put yourself into the positive, enlightened, growing, never ending, everlasting
right.
stuff?
Yeah, you expel your effort to obtain something that nourishes you, and that's not nourishing. Yeah,
This
and
goes
that's gonna be
against natural
individual.
law of self-preservation.
Yeah, I've never understood. Like my wife actually did it when they were in high school. In the macabre, there was a period of time where you're interested, and they would do gravestone rubbings. And I'm like, I never understood. I don't like graveyards. I don't like funerals. I don't like hospitals. Yeah, maybe there's some fear in there, but it's like I've never had a good time at a funeral, or I hadn't then. Yeah, since we've uh, delved more into people who don't see death so negatively. Yeah, I've had parties at funerals, but at that point, I just couldn't get it. I was like, what? Why are you looking at that? Why even spending time? That's that we put dead people there. That the only purpose that place has is when you bring honor. I got that. You honor the life of those who have passed, and okay, that's good. That's really good. Honor is life giving. But I never understood that. Yeah, and if you spend all your time trying to figure out what's going to happen at transition, you're gonna miss what they're transitioning from. Like you're gonna miss all of that. It's like I'm only concerned with the crossroad. I don't care about the journey. There's not a lot of logic to that. That doesn't really make a lot of sense. You're
Yeah,
missing out on a lot.
yeah. And there's all these nuances that we aren't even touching on with all this
Oh gosh, no.
process. I
What? We didn't
mean,
solve it in an hour?
no, there's like even the journeys that people take down what we would call dark pathways.
Yes,
How many stories have I heard where they have found the face of God down
absolutely.
there,
Yeah,
and
my
he
sister did.
he redirected them back through, right?
Yeah,
I mean, that there's just countless times. So it's not to say that going down that pathway, what does David said? Even if I'm in the depth of the depths, you're still there.
yeah,
The beauty and the amazing capacity of our Father to reach us no matter where we've gone is it can't be said enough.
yeah.
It can't be overstated
That's a win for
how
my dad.
great his heart
Yeah.
is to reach into the darkest depths of we think he can't exist down here. Oh, hey, here I am. Just want to let you know I love you. If you ever want to leave and come out some other way, I'm here with you. I'll show you a way.
Yeah,
He is. I could trust my father in that. Even if my voice can't make someone make a change, it doesn't matter. My father, at the end of the day, has the ability to pull anybody. That's the miracle of that relationship. That's the beauty. And I think that that's the testimony that I like to share with people
yeah,
is no matter where you're at, no matter how far you think you've gone, no matter how you think you've rejected the full premise of this sky god, yet
Yeah.
he still stands there and says, hey, I'll meet you in your rejection
Yep.
and I'll double my love and I'll show you myself. That I leave that to him because he's
Yeah, you can
excellent
make
at
your
that.
bed in hell, but you don't have to.
Yeah,
That's his character.
that's right.
Yep. He created hell anyways, so he can do whatever he wants. The truth.
Yes.
Nothing was created without him. So, I mean,
Yeah, like the structure of hell, that's a whole nother
yeah.
hour-long
And we'll
conversation.
we'll end
Next
on
week
that.
on
Yeah.
Right. He has his definition of hell too.
Yeah.
Might not
I'm
agree with
firm.
ours.
Yeah. Yeah. I can honestly say I haven't figured that one out, and I'm not all that curious about it.
No. Well, y'all, we love you, and
Yep.
we thank you for listening and being part of our conversation, and how crazy it is. Truth is, everything comes back to love.
That's right.
Yeah. Go have
Wherever
some
you're at, you're
near-life
loved.
experiences.
Yeah, yeah, that's right. Live long and prosper. Woo!
Are we off?
We must be. He left.
Oh no, we're not. We're not off yet. Hold on. I'm the host now.